Welcome to this explainer. Listen, if you're an LLB student staring down a massive 14-mark university exam on the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, the BNSS, you know that rote memorization was just going to fail you. You absolutely need a solid mental map of this law. So today, we're building that blueprint. We're going to look at the structural foundation of how personal liberty and state power actually intersect, creating a memory chain that you can walk right into your exam hall with.
Now, just look at this number, 531. That's 531 total sections spread across 39 chapters and 2 schedules. Honestly, when you first see a number like that, it's pretty overwhelming, right? But here's the secret to mastering this code. You don't read it linearly front to back. You have to understand that these chapters are actually sequential building blocks in the life cycle of a criminal case.
And this definition really hits the nail on the head. The BNSSA is an act to consolidate and amend criminal procedure laws. Think of it as the official procedural engine of the entire criminal justice system. It dictates exactly how an investigation kicks off, how a trial is conducted, and how a judgment is finally handed down.
To make sense of this whole life cycle, we're going to map it out across 6 distinct structural phases. First, an introduction to the BNSS. Second, police powers and arrests. Third, compelling appearance. Fourth, the trial framework. Fifth, judgments and appeals. And finally, number 6, bail and miscellaneous provisions.
Let's jump into Section 1, Introduction to the BNSS and Setting the Legal Timeline.
Okay, grounding ourselves in the hard facts here. Act number 46 was officially enacted on Christmas Day, December 25, 2023, and it came into full force on July 1, 2024. For your exams, these dates are absolutely vital. They mark the strict jurisdictional transition point. Basically, any procedural action that initiates after July 1st operates strictly under this new BNSS umbrella.
Moving on to Section 2, Police Powers and Arrests. This is the very first phase of the justice life cycle.
All right, here is your first major memory chain. The code flows incredibly logically here. It starts with the immediate power of arrest on day 1 in Chapter 5. Then, it moves right into the information and investigation phase in Chapter 13. And finally, it establishes court jurisdiction in Chapter 14. So, once the police use their investigative powers under Chapter 13, Chapter 14 acts as the bridge from the police station straight into the courtroom, telling us exactly which magistrate has the authority to hear the case.
Which brings us to Section 3, Compelling Appearance. Basically, getting the case into court. You really need to notice the strict procedural divide here. It's super important. Chapter 6 forces individuals to show up to court. We're talking summons and arrest warrants. Chapter 7, on the other hand, is entirely focused on securing physical things and evidence through search warrants. So it's people versus things. Keeping that distinction crystal clear is going to save you on those tricky problem-based exam questions.
Let's head into Section 4, the trial framework. What actually happens inside the courtroom?
Now, trials definitely aren't a one-size-fits-all deal, and the BNS separates them into very distinct formats based on how grave the offense is. Chapter 19 is reserved for the absolute most serious crimes, trials before a court of session. Then, as the severity decreases, the procedure streamlines. Chapter 20 covers warrant cases, Chapter 21 handles summons cases, and Chapter 22 governs summary trials for minor offenses. Oh, and Chapter 23 outlines plea bargaining. The whole architecture here perfectly matches the complexity of the trial procedure to the gravity of the actual crime.
Now for Section 5, Judgments and Appeals, concluding the trial.
This sequence right here represents the judicial scrutiny phase. It literally walks us step by step from the formal judgment in Chapter 29 over to Chapter 30, which requires a higher court to actually confirm death sentences, which is a massive constitutional safeguard, by the way. From there, we go straight into Chapters 31 and 32, which provide the legal avenues for appeals, reference, and revision. The BNSS builds in all these layers just to ensure fairness and catch any judicial errors. Finally, Section 6, Bail and Miscellaneous Provisions, the safeguards and final administrative steps.
These are the final pieces of the puzzle. Now, for anyone studying constitutional rights, Chapter 35 is absolutely massive. It governs bail and bonds, and it has to perfectly balance the state's need to make sure the accused actually shows up for trial with the individual's fundamental right to personal liberty. Then, post-trial, Chapter 36 deals with the disposal of physical property, and Chapter 39 just kind of catches all those miscellaneous procedural wrap-ups to formally close the books on a case.
So, we've just mapped out a massive architectural shift, tracing our memory chain from those Chapter 5 arrests all the way through to the Chapter 35 bail provisions. It's a comprehensive machine, right? Designed to handle liberty, evidence, and state power. As you take this framework into your exams, and honestly, into your future practice, I want to leave you with this final thought. Will this highly consolidated structure truly accelerate justice, or is the sheer weight of 531 sections going to create entirely new complexities in the courtroom? Keep analyzing, keep studying the code, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.